ever wonder how people react when they realize they've picked the wrong target? These bikers thought they could insult an elderly black man without consequence. Little did they know they were dealing with a Vietnam veteran. In a bustling city street, a group of rowdy bikers decided to harass an elderly black man. Their racist insults filled the air, but this man had more strength than they could imagine. As the tension grew, what unfolded next was something no one expected. It started as just another day in the city. The streets were bustling, and people went about their business. But then, a group of bikers decided to make an example of an elderly black man. Their loud jeers and racist insults echoed through the streets, targeting a man they assumed was an easy victim. Little did they know they were messing with someone who had faced much greater battles. The bikers surrounded him, their presence loud and intimidating. "Hey, old man, what are you doing out here? Shouldn't you be somewhere sitting quietly?" one of them taunted. They laughed, thinking their words would crush him. The man, however, didn't react as they expected. He stood there silent, his calm demeanor only infuriating them more. They escalated their insults, trying to provoke him. "You think you're too good to talk to us," another shouted. But this wasn't just an ordinary man. He had survived the horrors of Vietnam-faced life-and-death situations and had built a resilience these bikers couldn't begin to comprehend. Still, they pressed on, unaware of the quiet storm brewing within him. "Come on, old man, show us some respect," one biker demanded, stepping closer. The crowd around them watched, uneasy but curious. The bikers fed off the attention, believing they were in control. Yet, despite their efforts, the man remained unfazed. His silence wasn't out of fear. It was a sign of strength, a refusal to be dragged down to their level. Finally, he spoke, his voice steady and filled with authority. "You think you're tough because you have numbers. But I've seen real toughness. I've faced enemies who truly wanted to end me, and I'm still standing." The bikers were taken aback. The quiet man they had targeted was no ordinary person. His words carried the weight of experience and a history they hadn't anticipated. The realization began to dawn on them, but it was too late to back down without losing face. The man continued, his tone unwavering. "I served in Vietnam. I fought for this country, for people like you, and for my own. You think you're strong because you can intimidate. Real strength is in standing up for what's right, even when it's hard." The bikers, now visibly uncomfortable, couldn't meet his gaze. The crowd, which had been tense moments ago, started to shift in their perception. The man's revelation turned the tide, and the biker's arrogance was replaced with silence. As the bikers surrounded him throwing insults, the man remained calm. They thought they knew who they were dealing with, just an ordinary old man. But they couldn't have been more wrong. "Do you have any idea who you're messing with, James Carter?" finally asked, his voice calm but firm. The bikers sneered, dismissing him with another round of taunts. To them, he was just another target, someone they could bully without consequence. James didn't flinch. He had faced far worse than this. "You think strength is about who can yell the loudest or throw the first punch. Let me tell you what real strength looks like. The crowd, now fully engaged, watched as James began to reveal his past. He spoke of his time in Vietnam, of the battles fought and the friends lost. "I fought in a war that taught me the true meaning of courage," he said. "I faced enemies who didn't just throw words, they threw bullets." The bikers, once full of bravado, started to shift uneasily. The revelation of James' veteran status hit them like a ton of bricks. This wasn't just some elderly man. They had insulted a hero, someone who had put his life on the line for his country. "You think you're tough," James continued. "Toughness isn't about intimidating people on the street. It's about facing real danger, real fear, and standing your ground. It's about protecting those who can't protect themselves." The bikers exchanged glances, their earlier confidence faltering. They had thought they were in control of the situation, but now the tables had turned. James' words cut through their bravado, exposing their actions for what they were: cowardly attempts to bully someone they thought was weak. The leader of the group tried to regain control. "We didn't know," he stammered, but the words felt hollow. "That's the problem," James said. "You didn't bother to know. You judged me based on what you saw: a black man on the street. You assumed you could treat me any way you wanted. But I've earned my respect. I fought for it. And you've just lost yours." The crowd erupted in applause, the tension dissolving as the bikers realized they had lost the fight, not through physical confrontation, but through the undeniable power of James' words. They slinked away, their heads hung low, leaving James standing tall. The lesson was clear: appearances can be deceiving, and true strength lies in resilience, courage, and integrity. James Carter had shown them all what it truly means to be strong, and the crowd left that day with a newfound respect for the quiet man who had faced down a group of bikers without ever raising his voice. The tension on the street reached its peak. The bikers, who had spent the last several minutes hurling insults at James Carter, were about to get a lesson they would never forget. Up until now, they had seen him as nothing more than an easy target, a quiet, elderly black man who wouldn't fight back. But they were about to realize just how wrong they had been. James took a step forward, his calm demeanor unwavering. The leader of the bikers sneered. "What are you gonna do, old man? You think you can scare us with your stories?" James locked eyes with him, his gaze steady and piercing. "I don't need to scare you," he said, his voice firm. "But I'll teach you something about respect." The crowd held its breath, sensing that something significant was about to happen. James reached into his pocket and pulled out a small worn object, a military medal. He held it up, letting the sunlight catch its surface. "You see this?" he asked, his tone measured. "This isn't just a piece of metal. It represents the sacrifices I made, the battles I fought, and the lives I helped save." The bikers fell silent, their bravado faltering as they began to understand the gravity of the situation. The leader tried to laugh it off, but his voice cracked under the weight of James' words. "So what?" he muttered. "That doesn't mean anything to us." James' expression didn't change. "It should," he replied. Because the freedom you enjoy, the freedom to ride your bikes, to say whatever you want, was paid for by people like me. People who bled, who suffered, and who died for this country. And I'll be damned if I let you disrespect that. The crowd erupted in applause, the tension breaking as James' words struck a chord with everyone present. Even the bikers who moments ago were full of arrogance couldn't deny the truth in what he said. The leader, now visibly shaken, took a step back. "We didn't know," he mumbled. "That's the problem," James said, his voice still calm, but carrying the weight of his experiences. "You didn't care to know? You judged me based on the color of my skin and my age. But strength isn't about what you see on the outside. It's about what's inside, the courage to stand up for what's right, the resilience to keep going when the world tries to break you." The bikers, once so sure of their dominance, now looked uncertain and ashamed. They had picked the wrong man to mess with, and they knew it. The leader nodded, swallowing his pride. "We're sorry," he said quietly. James nodded back, accepting the apology, but not letting them off easy. "Remember this moment," he said. "Next time you think about judging someone based on their appearance, remember that you don't know their story. You don't know what they've been through or what they're capable of." The bikers turned and walked away, their heads hanging low, the crowd parting to let them pass. The onlookers cheered for James, applauding his courage and the dignity with which he had handled the situation. He stood tall, a beacon of quiet strength and resilience, his story now etched into the memories of everyone who had witnessed it. As the crowd began to disperse, people approached James, thanking him for his service and expressing their admiration. But James, ever humble, simply nodded and went on his way, leaving behind a powerful reminder of what true strength and respect look like. In the end, it wasn't about the confrontation, it was about the lesson learned. The bikers, the crowd, and everyone who heard the story would remember that day, not for the insults or the tension, but for the moment an elderly Vietnam veteran stood up with quiet dignity and taught them all what it truly means to be strong. The street confrontation that started with cruel insults ended with a powerful lesson in humility and respect. James Carter, a Vietnam veteran, stood firm against the bikers, who had no idea of the battles he had already faced in life. His calm demeanor and powerful words exposed the true nature of strength, not in aggression or intimidation, but in resilience and courage. The bikers, once so confident, walked away with their heads bowed, having learned a valuable lesson. The crowd that gathered left with a newfound respect for James, inspired by his quiet dignity and unwavering spirit. This moment wasn't just about standing up to bullies. It was about reminding everyone that real strength lies in standing tall, even when faced with adversity. Subscribe for more stories that reveal the hidden heroes among us.